Hello and welcome to Building the Premier Accounting Firm. This is a podcast dedicated to helping individuals start and build the premier accounting firm in their area. In doing so, it's meant to actually get you paid what you're worth so that you can work confidently and competently as an accounting professional. It's in this show that we dedicate our time to various topics that are intended to help you have the premier accounting firm in your area by focusing on marketing, sales, pricing strategies, onboarding clients, client relations, and so much more. With regards to this, I have a guest each and every week, an expert that can contribute to this discussion for us to learn from and actually apply principles in our businesses. I happen to be your host, Roger Connect, president of Universal Accounting Center. And for more than 20 years, I've been working with accounting professionals around the world to help them both start and build the premier accounting business. Whether you're a solo entrepreneur offering accounting services or running your own firm with staff and employees, this is the podcast dedicated to helping you have the premier accounting firm. Now, today's guest is someone that I've been excited to have on the show for some time now. It's Martin Zych. Martin happens to be the co-founder and CEO of Giraffe. Now, this is going to be kind of fun because his career in finance and accounting was actually one where he specialized in high-growth tech companies. Previously, Martin was the finance director of Lemonade and was Zych Health and a controller at Atlas Accelerator CFO. Now, over his career, Martin has actually set up dozens of finance functions and has helped raise over $200 million in funding. He founded Giraffe to build the tool he wished he had had available to him during his whole career as a finance leader in high-growth companies. So, Martin, thanks for having you on the show.
Thanks a lot. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. So obviously, I just want to start by just asking the most basic question, which is, what got you started in the accounting profession?
So I've had a passion for numbers always. I was a big math geek growing up, and then went to business school, and I went to University of Washington, and I got a finance degree there.
Okay.
And then when I finished that, as part of that, you got to take like accounting 101, 102, 103. They had how you do the fifth year in accounting, so then you get the accounting credits, so you can sit for the CPA.
Yeah.
So I also did the extra year there too for the accounting certificate. So I got both of those certifications, and I really loved it, like how all the numbers tied together, and it came to me really, really naturally, and from there just started diving into how do we use numbers to really help people drive their business forward.
So when you were in school and you started to realize you had a knack for this and chose to pursue it as a career, I'm assuming once you graduated, you didn't start a business, you found employment. Tell us about that career path as you left college.
Yeah. So in the early days, I worked for a market research company, and then quickly my boss at the time was like, "Hey, you got a finance and accounting degree. That means you're good at Excel, right?" I was like, I'm 3 months out of school. You don't know how to turn on a printer then even, but I was like, yeah, I can do it. And he's like, hey, can you crunch some numbers for me? So then I started, building up these reports and analytics around the business. And then, and that was how it seeded it. And then from there, it just, it took off and started building like tools and all these models and things in there that, slice and dice all this cool data across accounting data, sales data, and personnel as well.
Well, I will admit, working with the numbers like that, such as Excel, it can be quite involved and at the same time very exhilarating. There's a lot of data that you can mine from that and really kind of share a narrative and help management better understand what's happening to the company. So I'm assuming it's from that you ended up becoming a finance director and as well as a controller?
Yeah. I built up, all these tools and things, and then ended up really starting to be able to drive this stuff. I worked for a consulting firm that would do this for different startups in the Seattle area in the early 2000s. And we would do, models when it's like 4 people and a dog sitting around the dining table and they want to raise $1 million. And we'd work with these like brilliant entrepreneurs and engineers and salespeople to conceptualize this, rows and columns and dollars and cents and KPIs and metrics. So that's how we got into it. And I got to do dozens of different companies there. It was really, really, really cool experience. And kind of you learn a lot of seeing all these different kind of businesses.
What I like about that is the fact that oftentimes in accounting, it's more the analytical side of things. And what you're sharing there is more the creative side. It's preparing this pro forma and the what if clauses. And all of a sudden you're just kind of brainstorming, and being creative is so much different than the analytical side of the business model, let's say. So were you Was that new to you? Did you enjoy that, or was that a challenge?
Well, like there's actually like what you mentioned about the creative side that ties to uh, we had a customer of ours. They likened when they were comparing accounting and finance, said accounting is grammar, finance is poetry. So
Ah, I like that.
yeah, so we learn the nuts and bolts of how the business comes together on the accounting side, and then with finance, you start going through on the forward-looking path there, and you really can start painting a picture. And you can be kind of creative, but there are frameworks and rules and things that you gotta work in between there.
Yes, yes. Now, obviously, I shared in your bio that you were involved with raising over 200 million in revenue, or funding rather. I think a lot of accountants don't see themselves in that kind of capacity. How did you get drawn into that? And tell us a little bit about that experience of generating that revenue or the funds again.
Yeah, I mean, I started doing that. I was a controller, so probably many people in outsourced accounting are a controller. You're closing the books, you're doing all this,
Yeah.
and we had to go into like diligence with these venture investors who are like, hey, I need financials slice and dice this way, and then can you add in all of these KPIs? And those KPIs were things you could derive from the accounting statements, and some also other non-financial data that you have the keys to as a controller, like payroll data and sales and billing system data. And really quickly, just started connecting the dots across, where accounting ended and then the finance started. So it became actually, I think, like controllers and people like accounting managers, controllers, in-house at companies as well as outsourced ones, like hold the keys to all the data that you would need to do this. And it's a huge opportunity where I think almost anyone could really, if they put their mind to it, could start building these things up, and they've got the core understanding to do so.
The thing that I think most accountants may relate to when it comes to generating the funds like you're describing is either that of a nonprofits going about and trying to generate the funds for the various projects that they're involved in. But the other happens to be like you're talking venture capitalists, investors that are needing to kind of not only see the insides of the business, but then extrapolate what are the potentials that the business has in doing these various scenarios. And as investors, determining whether or not this is someplace that they would like to park that investment. So you've got 200 million in funding that you were able to generate. What kind of insights did you learn through that whole experience as you contributed being the accounting and finance person?
I think the key insights are like as you mentioned is being able to like you first have to obviously share how did we grow this business and in whatever the business is that we're doing as an accountant. And then when you start looking forward, it's how big can this thing get is the number one question. Number two is what does it take to do that? So in terms of time and capital needs on that side, and then understanding what are the levers that you can pull in the business to accelerate or decelerate, and how aggressive you go. And when you have a firm understanding of those three concepts, and then you can actually tell that story to even the management teams themselves. A lot of them just say like, I'm going to sprint hard as hell and see what happens, versus like, hey, here's this methodical way that we could do this, and we can actually hit the goal. Or to these external investors, that's where the aha light bulb kind of comes on, and people say, all right, this is something I want to double down on.
Yeah, one of the things that I find fascinating in this whole narrative is cash flow. One of the things that I think is great is when you're forecasting that type of growth, there is in many ways, actually, various situations where the growth of the company can be accelerated to the point that it outpaces cash flow. And all of a sudden, you run into this point where maybe you're selling, let's say, the product or service that you're providing, but because of either payroll or costs of goods, something comes into it where all of a sudden you can't fulfill what it is you're selling because the company's growing too quickly. And all of a sudden, the whole business model starts to unravel, and you start to see where the breaking points are if you've built out a great pro forma. And that's where the investors come in. They're able to plug those holes. They're able to help actually find different resources and such that maybe not available. And in the growth of the company, allow it to be not only sustained, but actually perpetuated. So do you have anything to kind of share in that light?
Yeah. So like, as you're thinking about, the functional kind of like how fast can this business go, and are there break points? This goes beyond, like, it doesn't have to be venture backed companies. It could be your your lifestyle businesses. It could be
Exactly.
even like the simplest model. Like everyone here probably is like a leader at a at an accounting firm or works at an accounting firm. If you're modeling your own firm, and you said, hey, we're gonna double revenue, you need to be able to all of a sudden figure out, well, how, you can't just magically double revenue because you need people to help fulfill that on the accounting firm, controllers, accountants, bookkeepers, all of that. So then you got to go, well, how fast can I hire people to fulfill, what's my average revenue per customer? How many people do I have assigned per customer? What's their bandwidth? And then when you start breaking that down in a model, you can actually start seeing the actions. And in order to do that, you actually have to go hire, whatever amount of people it is. That's the activity. And that's like a break point, for example, like recruiting. Like, and you don't think like the accountant can drive a recruiting discussion, but you can very easily do that with,
Yes.
looking through the numbers. And that's the kind of stuff where you start getting into, there's a big talk of like advisory for accountants. And that is the advisory. Like what is the realistic pace I can hire people? What is the pace I can onboard new customers? Like that's the discussion people want to have.
Amen. I think as the listeners, being accounting professionals, hear all this, just to give it some application, one of the things that I work with just in the accounting space is you may want to onboard new clients just because of your growth, the revenue goals that you have. But all of a sudden you start to realize if your business plan is such that you're expecting to, let's say, onboard 5 new clients, but the bandwidth to actually but onboard them is such that it takes so many hours to onboard a brand new client in those first 1 to 3 months, you all of a sudden realize you don't have the bandwidth to bring on more than, say, 2, 3, 5, 10 new clients based on your office. And it actually then may slow down the acceleration that you have in the marketing and sales. Then conversely, in the back end, there are only so many clients that traditionally an accountant or bookkeeper can work with or service. And so that's generally right around 15 to 20 clients. And if that's the case, when you get to 25 clients, you really do need to consider, well, am I hiring somebody else, or can I bring on a new client, go to 26 clients? I mean, there's a lot of variables here when you're looking at just the accounting firm and what it's able to do in its growth strategy. So I like this discussion. It has so many facets to it. I think one of the things that we just have to realize is whether it's ourselves or our clients, these pro formas help us identify where those breaking points are, where we're going to have to actually hire someone to preempt the growth or bring on a new, maybe a new product line. I mean, there's just a lot of fun questions to kind of extrapolate and experiment with. That's the creative side. So here's the question that I have. All that sounds great and wonderful. You obviously left at some point and started Giraffe. Tell us about that story.
Yeah. So I was actually running finance and accounting. It was like 100-person tech company. And when I was there, it was in the Bay Area. And the CEO at the time said, like, okay, here's your budget. You can hire a financial analyst, or you can use, a tool to do the finance stuff. And being the kind of tech geek I am, I tried out all the tools that were out there. Ended up implementing one of them, spent a massive load of cash that was as much as a full-time salary for someone. And it was cool when it was up and running, but it took, 4 months, and you got to pay that, that amount every time. And I realized there's got to be a better way to do this. So I ended up quitting my job. I bought a intro to coding book, and it was like I packed all my stuff into storage. It was like, I'm gonna move to, I'm gonna move overseas somewhere cheap, and I'm gonna learn to code, and I'm gonna figure this thing out and build something.
Now, this is while you're on payroll.
Yeah, no, I quit the job, so then I was not on payroll.
All
And that
right.
was, but like implementing kind of the best of breed tool convinced me to quit my job to build something even better. And 2 weeks before I'm going on my trip, the VP of engineering of that company, I told him, like, hey, we're hanging out, and like, I want to go start this FP&A platform for small mid-market businesses, and I'm going to code it and do all this. He goes, excellent idea, but you'll never learn to code. Let me do that side. So we teamed up. That's my co-founder, Steve. And then, fast forward, we're about 6 years into this. We're now the exclusive budgeting and forecasting provider of CPA.com. The technology and education arm of the AI CPA.
Yeah.
As well as, so that's super duper exciting. We're super excited to partner with them on this. And, and we work with tons of like the top 100 firms, as well as a lot, like hundreds of kind of small and mid-market firms as well, where a few people working on these things and trying to build up their practice and do it in a standardized way where you can, you've hired that second or third person, and not everyone can use Excel the same way, and you need a platform to be able to grow. So, that's kind of the momentum that's happened and how we got into where we are today.
So, what is it that you feel you offer to the accounting community, the accounting professional?
So for us, what we do within Giraffe is we're an all-in-one financial forecasting, planning, and analytics platform. So we built up, a way where we connect all the cloud accounting tools out there, QuickBooks, the Xeros, NetSuite, Intact, even QuickBooks Desktop too. Join that in with payroll data, and then other custom data that might be needed to describe a business. And we make it really easy to automate that financial model. So I'm sure a lot of people listening have had a client share with them like a big 15 tab Excel file. And the moment you opened it, your computer fan turned on because it's like running super hot and it's hard. And then it's, and your eyes get crossed trying to just understand what's going on. We basically make it, you never have to deal with that again. And you can instead plan and model all this stuff delightfully in the cloud. So that's the platform that we've built now. And we've, and we built it by listening to accounting firms and actually, because like everyone, that's what I did before.
So I have to ask, even with your partner, did you learn code?
I would say I'm a mediocre coder,
okay,
but I'm good enough to be dangerous.
I can relate to that. That's kind of funny. All right. So I have to ask, the name of the company is Giraffe, but it is not spelt as you would expect. It's spelled Jirav. I have to ask, why that spelling? What is that?
So there's kind of two reasons. And one, like when I was looking, like I really love like the concept of spirit animals. So when I was thinking about what we do, I really like how the giraffe's the tallest animal in the world, and it sees above all the trees, above all the bushes in every direction. And that's what we want, all of our partners and customers to feel like, that they've got their giraffe looking out for them, being able to see where they're going to be next month, next quarter, next year. So that's kind of the symbolism behind the giraffe. And then in terms of the spelling, I really I used to be on this kick of like buying misspelled animal names for domain names when I was in college. And so then I was looking through and I had all these other ones, like I had like a tiger with a Y, and I had a penguin with a PYNGUN or something. And I was like, but there's the giraffe and the symbolism. All right, we're gonna do this and run with it this way.
And what did your partner think of this?
We had several discussions. Do we go giraffe, that? But he liked it, and I think, and we dove into it, and it's actually a lot of people have really grasped onto the brand because it's like fun and delightful, and we've gotten a pretty good following. I'd recommend, if I don't know if folks here ever go out to any of the accounting trade shows, come and find our booth. We've always got just a ton of fun giraffe energy going on there.
Oh, you do. And you've definitely got those stuffed animals. And so they're always they stand out. That's definitely the case.
Yep.
I feel like you're going to a carnival is what it looks like. I'm going to bring one home to my kid, I guess.
Yeah. Well, we had there, people would ask to take pictures with them and stuff. And we said, take a picture and post it up and you get entered into the Giraffle.
Ah, the Giraffle. I like that. Okay, good. All right. So being in the technology space, I think it's very important to ask where you think technology is going in the future for the accounting profession. We've seen definitely an evolution in the last 5-10 years. There's this, I wouldn't say paranoia, but there's this, not even concern, but there's interest to know how's AI going to impact us and so forth. What are your thoughts regarding how technology is being leveraged to help the accounting profession?
Like over the last few years, we've seen a lot of focus on automating the inputs. So we've got, who knows how many like bill payment companies out there, and like, and all of these like, AP automation, AR automation, all of that. So that part has like really helped accountants, be able to leverage and have more clients, for example. And you don't have to do all the grunt work because you've got the machines doing that for you, and you're able to spend more time on the strategic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then as the technology evolves now, I think there's going to be a big push on the outputs and the kind of the deliverables and how you interact with your clients as well. So how do we make that final mile deliverable will be more than just an Excel file that we email out at the end of the month and hope that the person understands what's going on. Number one, has actually looked at it and and how to engage on that information. So there's a huge upside there, and I think AI is driving will be driving a lot of that because there's so much data out there with the proliferation of cloud tools now.
I'd have to agree with you. I believe over the last number of years, we've definitely seen the historical side of the accounting profession kind of being taken over by technology. A lot of that's being mapped out and done for us. And so less of our time is actually recording transactions and trying to identify what type of transaction something is. That's being either automated or it's being even through AI kind of managed. However, I do agree with you that the future is going to be more the real time and the forecasting elements of the accounting profession, being able to get our clients the information they need to be making real world, real time informed business decisions in their companies and less be impacted with surprises based on cash flow or trends. All of a sudden now we're able to be more involved in the day-to-day operations of the company and more integral to the success of the business because we're giving them this data to be more, I say, competitive or perhaps agile in their market. So I really am excited about the future for the accounting profession, but it does require us to definitely know the ins and outs of these different tools because the customer is expecting us to ensure that those things are running and functioning and doing so properly. So I like what you've shared there. The next thing is regarding your business. Obviously, as accounting professionals, there's technology and such that's to our benefit internally within our company to help us run more efficiently and profitably. There's outward facing type technologies that improve our relations with our clients and help us actually do our jobs better in their behalf. What's the ideal customer for you? When does it make sense for them to consider what it is that you offer to the accounting professional?
I think the ideal time is probably when you start having multiple people on your team trying to deliver similar outputs for their clients. Because like when you've got your template and you're just a one man show or one woman show, you kind of know what you got to do and it's okay. But if you're trying to train four people how to do something and you want to be able to make the outputs consistent, that's where people start looking at tools and for all the different things that they use. And we've actually found that the most successful accounting firms are ones that really specialize on a tech stack. And so find one tool for each of the core things that you do for bill pay, for GL, for budgeting, forecasting, for reporting, and like double down. And when you do that, you can move 10 times faster. You can train new people easier. If someone's sick or someone goes on maternity leave or anything like that happens, you can also just swap folks out that way, and it makes it really, really easy. And you start running the firm less like a consulting shop and more like a repeatable, factory for delivering GAAP financials that are super polished with, and if you want, add on a forecast or budget or analytics, and when you do that, they can move. It's crazy the pace that you'll see an acceleration in your business then.
I appreciate how you describe that. So often my conversations with accounting professionals is they're aware of the technologies and the things that are out there to help them do their jobs better. But so often it's a question of not just what, but when. When do I actually look at implementing and incorporating this into my business model? When would be the right time to have this benefit what I'm already doing with my clients? And I think you described it well. It's when you get to that 2 or 3 employees, you're trying to now systemize the process. You're trying to actually create procedures that, regardless of who's involved, they're able to have a consistent output for the clients that are receiving the work. And the thing that I would end with what you commented is it's oftentimes sooner rather than later that you want to look at doing this. even though you might be a sole entrepreneur, technology, even though you don't have employees, could be a good thing for you to start doing, because now you're documenting the processes and procedures that you're using that are in your own head, and you're capturing that and you're getting that workflow figured out. And then when you bring on the employees, it's easier to train them and get them up to speed more quickly. So that is, I think, a great discussion. Here's something for you as a business owner. Obviously, running a business, there's a lot of things that we each do as we run our companies that help us be what we are. Have you worked with a mentor and someone that's kind of coached you as a business owner? And if so, what did you take from that coaching relationship?
Yeah, I have multiple advisors and mentors. I like try to surround myself with people that are much smarter than I, that I, and experience that I can learn from every day. And I do that, from mentors, advisors, as well as just people on our team. And,
Mm-hmm.
and I find people who also help kind of fill my gaps or that have been there before. And people are really willing to help, and it's been great on that. So I have, we've got advisors on ours that have been CFOs from the startup stage all the way to, massive public companies. And I talk to them, almost weekly on that side. And I'm always learning. And it's, for me to be a better finance leader, and, and also for doing that in our product as well. It's always evolving, and every month we do a release, it gets better and better, based off of that feedback.
Is there a particular principle that you use, having had that type of instruction and mentoring, that you could share with us today as to maybe what we ought to consider as we're running our companies?
Yeah, I think probably, as we think about how do we unwind ourselves from having to do decisions and instead be able to automate that through process. And when you do that the right way, there you get this exponential effect on everything that you can do, is you can delegate to people, through to tools and things. And I think a lot of people are afraid to try that for the first time, because they're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, this is the way I've done it always. And I want, it's like the handcrafted artisan financials versus like, hey, can I do this in a tech forward automated way? So really focusing on, how do I multiply effort, using process and technology, and when you embrace that, it's just like strapping a rocket onto your back in terms of the way that you can grow.
That is perfect. I love that. How about this? Share with us a challenge you faced as you were starting and building your business, and what was the lesson you learned from it?
Yeah. Like one challenge, like this is a cool story. So when Giraffe, we, we're a startup, and we started doing our venture round right when COVID hit. So it's like January 2020. I was talking to investors, and we're like, okay, we're growing really fast. Here's this cool story. And then COVID hit in like February. People started, locking down in March. The world was so scary, and we thought, like the world was going to end, because like people, the investors that were talking, half of them were like, oh, we're not going to fund any new companies. We're just going to back our existing companies. And then a couple of them actually said, it's a cycle. We're going to get through this. And they stuck through. And we ended up doing a webinar 2 weeks into the lockdown starting. And we normally get a couple hundred people that would sign up for one. We had one with 2,000 plus people sign up, and it was like forecasting through COVID. And we're like, oh man, okay, a lot of people have this pain point. And it became like this crazy, went from thinking the sky is falling and it's the end of the world to, actually, we can help a lot of people here. So that was, a really pivotal point, I think, in my career and in what we're doing, and things have just kind of taken off from there.
Yeah, I think you just brought back some people's challenges and some experiences people had when the pandemic began back in March of 2020. Those were interesting times, and I'm glad that's in our rearview mirror now.
Absolutely.
The next question is kind of an interesting one. It's regarding your best friend. I want you to think of someone you would consider to be your best friend, and I'd like to have you answer why you think they are your best friend.
I think my best friend is my best friend because we're there to be each other's best cheerleader, as
Okay.
well as confidant in the scary stuff too. and help each other through that. So we like pump each other up when stuff is good, and when there's some tough stuff going on, we're there. We've got each other's backs, and we can hold each other up there. And and I've got a buddy like that has been around for years, and I know that at any moment, like now he lives thousands of miles away, but I can reach out to him, and that can happen. And I think just knowing that spiritual trust there is a really key thing that makes that friend really stick out compared to all the other regular friends that you have out there.
I like that. Each of us look for those types of friendships where not only is there that commitment, but you talk to that kindred spirit and so forth. It's nice as a business owner to have that type of person to lean on during the tough times. And if nothing else, have as someone that you can go out and escape with from the challenges and just kind of get something that's a diversion and disappear. So that's really good. What is a hobby or a diversion for you?
Let's see. Well, I'm a new dad, so I got a little 10-month-old baby boy. That's a handful of work. Lots of diversion every day there on that side.
Well, first of all, congratulations. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I'm learning a lot on the dad side. And beyond that, I think I also I try to do one big thing out of my comfort zone every year. That's just like absolutely crazy, and try to learn, and just go like full into it. So I've gotten to do a lot of interesting diversions, and it's like you go a year at a time at them across the gamut.
Well, then what was last year's and what's this year's?
Well, this one was having a baby and learning how to be a dad. I think before that, one of the coolest ones was I took skydiving classes, and I ended up doing like the solo jump where I did the AFF class, and you do a solo jump and you pull your own parachute. And that was awesome. And I recommend it for anyone out there, because after that, anything that happens to you in business feels like nothing, because you're like, dude, if you jump out of an airplane, nothing else can phase you.
That is awesome. So have you jumped since then?
Yeah, I've done 6 or 7 of them now.
Oh, good.
But my wife won't let me do it now that we got the baby. But it was fun before that.
Yeah. You want to look at your life insurance clause and see if it's covered.
Yep.
All right. So with regards to your wife, obviously starting a business, running a business as you are, there's a lot of support and such that can come from that. How is she helpful and supportive as you're running your business?
Yeah, I mean, having a good partner is really important. On that side, and as as an entrepreneur, it's a lot of times it's like especially if you're the founder, you're running the firm, it's like the loneliest job. So having someone that kind of understands those and has your back as you're doing that is really, really important. And it becomes kind of wind behind you, pushing you along for all the little things that are needed day to day.
So tell me about the conversation when you said, "Hey, hon, I've got a great idea. I want to start a business." Or even better yet, before that, "Hey, hon, I'm going to quit my job." Do you remember that at all?
Well, I wasn't married when I started Giraffe, so back then I was bachelor dude, and then we met a couple of years into it. But she's
at that point, it's who cares, right?
Yep, and then it's like just coming along for the ride, and is super excited for everything that we do.
Awesome. Okay, and this is kind of an interesting question, being that you are who you are. What does freedom mean to you?
Freedom, I think, is the ability to explore beyond just the box that you're in, and be able to read what you want, speak what you want, learn what you want, and as you have that flexibility, be able to strike your own path and do that professionally and personally across that, and that hunger for that curiosity to keep on growing, that's freedom in my mind.
I loved your way of visualizing that box illustration. Really resonated with me. The ability to expand beyond the box and have that curiosity to try and do and experience something new outside of that box that sometimes is placed on us either culturally or through our society, or perhaps even through family and relations. That's amazing. I love that. Very good. How about this? What is something that you're thankful for?
Oh man, there's so many things. I mean, the big one is I'm thankful for, all the people that, spend time with me and that allow me to be, a part of their lives. That's the number one thing, in that, learning from so many people and the friendships that have, grown over the years. And as and I think that became even more special to me with, like, as everyone had to work from home over the last few years and all that. Like, you see people, like, you really miss just getting a hug, and so I appreciate being able to see people, and I'm thankful for that.
That's beautiful. Yeah. I think we're social creatures, and to have that isolation is not healthy. So it's good, like you said, to be able to connect again with one another, even to that physical level. So that's great. I've got one last question before we start to wrap this up. I'd like you to reflect back a few years ago when you were quitting and when you started the business and it had the trials that came with it. What advice would you give to your younger self now, knowing what you know about Giraffe and the successes you've had? What advice would you give?
I think the big one is, whatever plan you think you have, like, it's going to be twice as hard as you think. It's going to take twice as long. Be ready for that. That's number one. And life's going to throw you curveballs, and it's going to be, and that's okay. Because I think, like, one of the number one factors of success that I've actually seen in peers and in people is not like how smart you are. It's like how much grit you have. So if you, stay gritty, persevere through that. And if you do that, you'll be able to power through eventually.
Perfect. Excellent advice. I couldn't agree more. Things do take longer than you expect, and they are harder than you anticipate. But at the same time, they are going to be worth it, and you can push through things. I'm old enough now to realize this too shall pass. The things will go along, and I think what you just shared is amazing. So thank you for that. Here's what I'd like to do. I'm going to take a quick moment here and kind of recap what it is that we've been discussing and some of the takeaways that I've had. But Martin, when I finish, I'd like to actually bring this back and see if you have a closing thought you'd like to leave with everyone. Now, before I give the recap of what I felt we discussed, I'd like to point out that Martin has a special offer that you can go to the episode description and find there. He's offering to the first 10 people who sign up for a demo by emailing his team and mentioning this podcast. So you got to do two things: schedule a demo and then also mention this podcast. We'll actually get a free baby giraffe. He'll send that out to you, and you'll actually be able to have that there for yourself, and maybe even give it to your kids or collect them, I guess. But the point is the first 10 people can definitely take advantage of that, and I would encourage you to do so to learn more about what Giraffe has to offer to help you as you're running your business, and obviously leveraging technology to be more efficient in the work that you do, and therefore more profitable when offering quality accounting services. So check that out and see what more Giraffe can do to actually help you in your business to, in fact, have the premier accounting firm in your area. Related to this, what I also want to suggest that you check out is there's going to be listed there a program. It is the Turnkey Business Plan. It happens to be what it is you can be doing to ensure that you're running a very profitable business and addressing the things that you need to be looking at. And related to that, you can also get a free copy of the book In the Black. In the Black happens to be the 9 principles to make your business profitable. And in doing so, basically focus on the short, midterm, and long-term type goals that you need to have in your business to ensure that you're running your business not only effectively and efficiently, but profitably. So definitely go to the episode description, see what you can do to schedule for yourself that demo with Giraffe and get your free baby giraffe. And then at the same time, get the copy of the ebook and the course, which is the Turnkey Business Plan. Now, as a summary, I really felt that this conversation was great. Not only at the beginning did we talk about funding and, more importantly, doing the creative side of the accounting, which is the pro formas and forecasting and figuring out what kind of growth the business can sustain before it experienced some of those breaking points. But at the same time, we talked about the upside of the accounting profession, how with technology, we're finding ourselves in a position where we're moving more and more into the analytical and what we can do to be more involved with our clients, to help them be successful, becoming an integral part of their success. And I do feel that with technology, that is becoming more and more not only possible, but exciting and fun for us. Now, it is there that we oftentimes make our greater revenues and become much more profitable, so we should get excited about that and see what we can do to leverage technology wherever it can be found to help us be more efficient in the office as well as with our client relations. The other thing I'd like to share is one of the takeaways that I had from Martin. Obviously, when starting a business, there can be a lot of challenges that we face. But like he explained, when jumping out of an airplane, if you can do that, you can then face those various challenges that we experience as we run our businesses, manage our lives, do the things that we do, simply because of the fact that we can get that perspective, and in that perspective realize that we do have the tenacity, the strength, the fortitude to push through certain circumstances as they may arise. And then the other thing I really appreciated is when he was talking about freedom. Freedom to really explore that curiosity that we have and try and experience new things, because I really do feel that if you can keep that excitement in your life, life is so much more worth living and at the same time much more rewarding. So with that being said, I really appreciated Martin being on the show today. I thought we got some great insights, and I'm appreciative to all of you for listening. So I hope you also came away with some of those little aha moments that were at least relevant to me. So Martin, do you have any closing thoughts that you'd like to share with everyone?
Yeah, I think one little one, the caveat on the baby giraffe, it's plush, not live. So, yeah.
So I don't have to worry about having to feed it and take care of it. That's better.
Yeah, I know feeding and walks, and I know, some people have tall ceilings, but at a certain point it'll max out. So the plush one's better for that.
That's a good clarifier. That's like the legal qualifier that we had to throw in there.
Yeah, exactly. But then, beyond that, this is great getting to chat. I was really happy to talk through everything with you, Roger, and I appreciate your time going through this.
No, this was a pleasure. I really enjoyed the conversation. So let me just kind of wind this up by obviously thanking you, the listener, for taking the time to listen. Definitely check out the episode description for those offers and take advantage of those. But for additional free resources, I invite you to also go to universalaccounting.com. It's there that you'll find the various things that we discuss each and every week and some free resources as an accounting professional that you can take advantage of, both personally and professionally. I also want to encourage you to check out the GrowCon conference. It's the upcoming event for accounting professionals to, in fact, be the accountrepreneurs you need to be, getting the training and the advice from the experts, meeting with your peers, and meeting the coaches that are there to help you as you're working on your business to, in fact, have the premier accounting firm. So go to the episode description for information about that conference coming up, and we would love to see you there. Now, with all that being said, I do also want to let you know that for information about this and other principles that you can apply in your business, you can check us out at universalaccountingschool.com or give us a phone call at 801-265-3777. With that, also remember to subscribe to the podcast and listen to our other episodes. And always remember, if it's about accounting, it is universal. Take care and have a great day out there, and be safe.